Hey guys, Dr. J here. In the previous episode we completed the last two normal trials and started the bonus trials. We've only 3 of those left, so this will be the final episode in this series. At the end of it, we'll have all of Bioshock 2's achievements unlocked. The next bonus scenario will be in Simon Wells's church. We'll again be summoning the security bots, leaving a mini-turret to protect the little sister, and spamming the insect swarm plasmid. We will hack the vending machines and the health stations after we start harvesting Adam. Okay, so since we've already seen the exact same thing 3 times already, I'd like to do something a bit different. I mean, with my commentary, the fighting will be the same. Instead of giving you a play-by-play, I'd like to give you some random bits of Bioshock 2 trivia. Let's start with this one. The "Look at you hacker" achievement is actually a reference to a line used by Shodan from System Shock. That line is actually only used in the game's setup utility to test your Sound Blaster, System Shock being a DOS game and all. The full quote is, "Look at you hacker, a pathetic creature of meat and bone, panting and sweating as you run through my corridors. How can you challenge a perfect immortal machine?" Now, a bit of context for why I find this kind of funny. As you guys probably know, Bioshock is the spiritual successor to System Shock. System Shock being probably the first but definitely the most influential FPS RPG hybrid. It also had, for its time, an incredible atmosphere, as well as one of the best villains in gaming history, Shodan. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but I'm saying this because the first game was created by Doug Church. It's the one created by Ken Levine, Bioshock's director. Actually, System Shock 2 was not supposed to be System Shock 2, but again, I'm going off tangent. Okay, so while Bioshock 2 is a pretty much direct sequel to Bioshock 1, it's also not created by Ken Levine. So, one game not created by Ken Levine is referencing another game not created by Ken Levine, despite both of them being in the same universe that made him famous. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I find this kind of funny. Let's see, what else can I share with you? Oh, here's another one. It's an interesting fact about the insect swarm plasmid we're constantly using in these scenarios. Although I'm not certain it has ever been officially confirmed, this is likely a reference to Thief, the Dark Project, which is another game that Ken Levine worked on. Its usage is vastly different, however, since in Thief it's more like a trap, kind of like the nest that the Splicers killed by the level 3 version of the plasmid become. The rivet gun that I love using so much also has a long history behind its creation. In the Bioshock franchise, we first saw it in the hands of the Rosy-type Big Daddies, but it actually first appeared as a concept of a weapon meant for System Shock. Though admittedly, it looked quite different. Obviously much more futuristic, but still, its functionality and concept were quite similar to the one we're currently using. However, it's never made it past its concept phase. There weren't even any assets created for it during the development of System Shock 1. Let's see, what else can I say about the weapons? How about the mini-turret? Is there an interesting story behind their creation? Well, no. Sorry to let you down, guys, but as far as I know, the hack tool and its ammo were simply designed for Bioshock 2 from the ground up. And it's not a reference to or have been inspired by anything else. That's about all I wanted to share with you about the weapons in Bioshock 2. But I will have some more interesting stuff to talk about in the next scenario. So stay tuned, I guess. As far as this scenario is concerned, we'll be just wrapping things up here. We're already 2/3 of the way there, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing, which is spamming the insect swarm plasmids and using the rivet gun to hatch out the splicers. Maybe I should start using the decoys. Not that I'm afraid of dying or having the little sister interrupted, but it should help draw the splicers towards it, and make it so the insect swarms and the security bots don't have to travel quite as much. And the brood splicer became another insect nest. To be honest, I'm still not sure how exactly they work. I see them sometimes activate even without an enemy nearby. Maybe there's some sort of an object limit that forces the objects to disappear. Less than a minute left. This last wave probably consists mainly of spider splicers. A couple of headshots is all it takes to kill a spider splicer. We're nearly done with the harvesting and there's no more splicers appearing. That's a bit weird. Anyways, the militaries have expired, but I won't bother deploying anymore. It's nearly time to pick up the little sister. Oh, a Houdini splicer has appeared at the last moment. And we're done. Let's pick her up.
This corpse is empty of Adam. The little one's work is finished. And now
We got an A+ rank as usual, and there's now just 2 more bonus scenarios left. The bonus scenario in Dionysus Park should be extremely easy. It's not a big place and it's quite open, so the insect swarms and security bots should have an easy time killing all the splicers. As we usually do, let's summon the security bots, hack the hell station on the way to the harvestable corpse, drop a mini turret and make the little sister start harvesting Adam before hacking the vending machines. As I promised you in the last bonus scenario, I'd like to talk a bit more about the behind the scenes of the Bioshock universe. Let's start with the little sisters. In the initial design phase of Bioshock 1, they didn't exist at all. At first, the devs thought about using the Atom Slugs pretty much the same way we're using the Little Sisters currently. They could also gather Adam and go through vents, and the players would have the same choice between harvesting and saving them. However, they decided to change that and use the Little Sisters instead. Obviously, the choice between saving or harvesting a slug does not have nearly the same emotional impact as it would if it was a sweet little girl. That is how the Little Sisters came to be. At first, the devs thought about making the Little Sisters killable, but they changed that during development and currently the only Little Sister that can actually be killed is the one we find in Ryan Amusements. And I'm pretty sure that one must be some sort of a bug, since if she dies, she'll start T-posing, so yeah. Another interesting fact about the Little Sisters is that their design was inspired by the Grady twins from The Shining, as was hinted in a Twitter post by Ken Levine. Also, according to him, he got the idea of bonding Little Sisters to Big Daddies when he was watching a documentary about ants. He was fascinated about the ants having a clearly defined role. But why were there no little brothers? Well, the story explanation is that the transformation process does not work with boys. I would imagine it's because of some hormonal differences or something similar. In reality, my guess is that it was both easier to only create a single model and because, again, going back to the moral dilemma, little girls simply seem more vulnerable, and what Rapture societies have done to them seem more unforgivable. There's just one more thing I'd like to share with you about the Little Sisters. It concerns the robotic Little Sisters we saw in Minerva's Den. Initially they were created as a form of censorship, since using little girls in such a way seems to be a touchy subject in Germany. But this was never actually implemented, which obviously means the USK was fine with the way they were depicted. Well, that's about the extent of what I wanted to share with you guys, about the Little Sisters I mean. I find it a bit disappointing that despite being so prominent in Bioshock 1 and especially Bioshock 2, there's not all that much information about them in-game. We're still not even halfway through the harvesting, so what subject should we talk about now? How about the Alpha series? Does that sound interesting? So, the Alpha series were, in fact, recycled test subjects from the plasmid research trials. All of them were former prisoners in Persephone and were used by Fontaine Futuristics to test new plasmids. After they were no longer useful in testing new plasmids, Gil Alexander used them as prototypes of the Protector program. They're actually just normal, if you can call a survivor of the plasmid trials normal, humans that wear a diving suit. Similar to what happened to Jack near the end of Bioshock 1. Their skin and organs have not been grafted into the diving suit, so they could remove it if they wanted to. But the suit is not a problem with the Alpha series. The problem is their bond with the Little Sisters. That bond is a crucial point in the main game, but even beyond Eleanor and Subject Delta, the team led by Dr. Suchong and after him Gil Alexander found that they've miscalculated and made it too strong and too specific. Hence why they started using the regular Big Daddies, which were intended to be only used to maintain Rapture's infrastructure and enact repairs too dangerous or cumbersome for normal humans. Since they were already heavily armored and extremely tough, the only thing they needed was to create a more general type of the bond used on the Alpha series, so that they can still protect the Little Sister, but not have to be scrapped if she's lost. We actually saw a Big Daddy doing just that in the beginning of Bioshock 2. Maintenance work with his rivet gun. Okay, so yeah, that's about it for the Alpha series' background, story and origins. I hope this has answered at least some of the questions you might have about the story in Bioshock. The story is undeniably one of the strongest points of this franchise, and it was infinitely fun for me to delve into it. And I hope you feel the same way. We only have a little over a minute left in this scenario, so let's just enjoy it. And I'll have some more interesting info for you guys in the next one. This should be the last wave with only regular and Houdini Splicers. What? How did I miss so many shots? That Houdini Splicer sure was lucky. Just a few more seconds left. Okay, let's go in a position and get ready to pick our little sister up. That was another perfect harvesting session. Just like that, we only have one more bonus scenario until we unlock the final achievement. The only difference between this scenario and the previous one is that this is going to be a little bit shorter. But this is simply because we need to collect less Atom. Otherwise, we will still keep using the same strategy. Let's start off by summoning the security bots, then have the Little Sister start gathering Atom, deploy a mini turret, and then go hack the vending machines and health stations while spamming the insect swarm plasmid. Okay, so in this scenario I would like to talk a bit about Rapture's history. More precisely what happened leading up to the Civil War and the events of the two games. We learned a bit about its history in Ryan Amusements, but that was pretty vague and sounded more like propaganda than actual historical records. Construction of the city started on November 5th, 1946, so right after the end of the Second World War. It was mostly completed by the end of 1951. We know from the coordinates we've seen during Jax's flashbacks that it's located near Iceland in the Atlantic Ocean. The city was mostly designed by Simon and Daniel Wales, though obviously this is too big of an undertaking for them to complete it by themselves. A lot of prominent workers and engineers were invited. Most of them saw this as a chance to prove their own abilities, lured by the ideology of Andrew Ryan. Rapture started hosting its inhabitants almost immediately after its construction began. Such was the pull of Ryan's ideas that people were driven to make this free market utopia a reality as soon as possible. And since Ryan was actively searching and inviting people that had proven potential and achievements in their respective fields, Rapture's economy was truly soaring high right from the start. This did not last long, however, and soon divisions between the people were starting to emerge. After all, we are not all mass-produced machines. Some people were more or less fortunate than others regarding either personal abilities or social standings. And because of Rice's philosophy, those less fortunate had no way to make their situation better, and thus slums like Pauper's Drop were created. People there were more or less left to die, forgotten by the rest of the city. This division between the classes was the opportunity people like Fontaine or Lamb or even Sinclair needed in order to further their own ideals. Because of this, Ran became paranoid and decided to close off contact with the outside world, similarly to Japan's Sakoku period. It was during these times that Tenenbaum discovered the atom slug and the plasmid industry was created. Initially it generated a huge boost to the economy, but as the effects of atom addiction became more prominent, it ultimately caused the complete collapse of Rapture's society. Personally, I don't believe anything much would have changed even without the discovery of atom. Fontaine had started his criminal empire even before that, and Lamb was also already busy converting people to her collectivism ideology. The only thing Adam did was accelerate those processes. The civil war that eventually began was bound to happen sooner or later. Sinclair knew that. He said as much during one of the audio diaries. That's why he created Persephone. Well, that's about all I wanted to share with you about Rapture's history. Of course, there is much more to it than that, but that is mostly narrated during the course of both games. Which is a good reason to go and watch my walkthroughs of them. We got Tenenbaum's message, which means there's less than 1 minute left until the end of the harvesting session. Pretty much the only thing left now are the 3 brood splicers that should be spawning soon. I wonder how easy we'll be able to defeat them with our overpowered loadout. Probably very easy. They still haven't spawned. Looks like they'll be coming just before we finish harvesting. Yep, here they are. Maybe I should have used the heavy rivets. Well, I guess we don't really need to. Yeah, pretty much as expected. Even 2 of them at once don't stand a chance. Let's see if the 3rd one can reach us before we finish gathering Adam. Oh, he actually made it. And he's dead. Well, what can you do? Let's pick up the little sister and enjoy unlocking the last achievement remaining in Bioshock 2.
Lamb will not forget what you have done here today.
There we have it, the Guardian Angel achievement. With it, we've unlocked every single achievement and can finally leave Rapture to rest. At least for a while. We'll have another quick trip here in the near future. Well guys, this was the end of this series. I hope you enjoyed it, and I would love to see you again in my next series, where we will be unlocking co-achievements in Bioshock Infinite. If you don't wanna miss it, please subscribe to my channel, and as always, if you like this video, press the like button below. I would also love to hear from you, so please leave a comment with your thoughts about this video, the series and Bioshock in general. That was all from me for today, so goodbye and have a great day.